All right, folks. I hope you're having a great time with Saturday morning cartoons. We've been doing these rewatch reactions, that kind of thing. I've kind of been able to reach out to other people when I have them on, talk to them about Saturday morning cartoons, animation, all the different things they love. And listen, it took no time for me to be thinking about somebody that I listen to watch. He does rewatches regularly. He was one of the first people I found. I never catch stuff in real time though, but it's still okay. It's great. A lover of Saturday morning cartoons, Resolute Germ, my brother. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Glad to be here.
So let's start at the beginning, man. How did you end up, YouTubing Saturday morning cartoon stuff? That seems like a such a really cool niche that maybe not everybody even thought about.
Oh yeah, I was looking for something to do. Seemed everyone was already on the sci-fi thing, and this my three big things have always been is sci-fi, pro wrestling, and cartoons.
Hmm.
And I don't see a lot of the cartoon stuff out there as much as everything else. So, and that on top of the stuff they've been making lately has just been so god awful. I wanted to get
Yeah,
people to remember the classics.
I agree. Yeah, I ended up down the rabbit hole of doing these rewatches of X-Men and Batman because it was the 30th anniversary and I just needed something good to watch at the end of my week, which had been terrible. Next thing you know, I'm doing these weekly rewatches with everybody and just kind of keeps growing and becoming more interesting, for lack of a better term. But you do like live stream watches, right? So do you still use like Cosme? Is that the best thing to use to show something people can watch along with you if they don't own it?
Yeah, that's so far been the best way. A lot of the stuff I'm not using the big streaming sites that have the watch party feature on it. So
Hmm.
Cosme allows everyone to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. So, folks, everything is in the description. Of course, his YouTube channel and all of that is in there. And it's every week he needs to basically doing a stream where they're rewatching some stuff and reacting, and it's really fun. I definitely will listen to pieces of it to try to get an idea of things maybe I just haven't listened to in a while or watched in a while. Do you find it? I kind of find it sort of like some things are I'm shocked that are readily available, and there's other things you just can't find anywhere. So, for instance, like Tubi has like a ton of stuff, but there's also stuff you
Definitely.
just can't find anywhere. What are some of your thoughts on like besides Tubi, where some places people can go to find things, and then we'll come back and circle around to things that just aren't out there.
Besides Tubi, I've had the best luck with Peacock as far as legitimate above board sites go.
Okay.
Other
Okay.
than that, you sort of have to sail the high seas to find a lot of stuff. For
Hmm.
instance, Men in Black. I can't find that on for the full series anywhere except for Crackle had it for a little while. I'm not sure if they still do or not.
That's a good
But
point.
other than that,
That's one of the ones I liked a lot too, man. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point because so for instance, I know that there's a lot of stuff on. So let me ask about YouTube because there's a lot of content in its original form on YouTube. How does all of that fly and not have copyright flags, or do you know?
I have no idea. I've tried uploading like intros to even some pretty obscure stuff, and I get flagged almost immediately.
Hmm. Yeah, if
So
it's an actual intro with music, it usually is going to get flagged. I try to make sure it's 7 seconds or less. I will. I have no. I actually even. You're not going to believe this. Well, you probably will. I actually just did. We did a stream. We did a talk hard on They Live here recently, and there was a wrestling action figure commercial, and that got flagged.
wow.
It's like, yeah, I know commercials. Usually, I haven't had any too much of a problem about. Like even if it's something that is not even you know available now, you would think commercials are just almost like free marketing. But yeah, that the WWF, I'm sure it's WWF action figure stuff got flagged. But um, so have you over time tried to dabble with uploading pieces and things like that, and just kind of abandoned that completely?
Yeah, I was trying to upload originally episodes, but
Hmm.
everything was getting hit by that. Right now, on occasion, I will upload an intro. Mainly, I do that off YouTube. because other places are a little more understanding about. I'm not trying to steal anything. I'm trying to encourage people to watch this.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating elements, because even when you're still doing things right, I'm trying to think of an example that I have here recently. Clue. I did a video on Clue. It was a throwback. So I had footage from the trailer. Excuse me, and I was talking over it. I was pausing it, jumping around. It got flagged. So I had to, and I lost a dispute. So then it goes back through again. I asked for a visual, like an appeal, basically, and then it goes through because I didn't really do anything wrong. It's just that they try to. I don't know. I don't know if it's computers or if it's actually people, but it definitely seems like an iron fist. And it's got to be frustrating for you because you are looking at and interested in stuff that is decades old. Like most of the stuff you're
Yeah.
talking about is actually pretty vintage, right?
Yeah. I think the newest thing I've ever featured was Clone Wars, and that was the 2010s, the latest, I believe.
Hmm. Okay. So what is some of the fun elements of uh bringing all of this sort of light? Because in a lot of ways people just don't know, like, about all this stuff is one of the things I'm shocked by. But again, I'm older, so I've lived through it. What's some of the thoughts that you have on people's response to it?
It's pretty great. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, another YouTuber, he shows up on the Saturday morning cartoons. Seeing him and his kid in the background reacting to the stuff they never knew about and realizing how good it was back then is pretty good feeling.
Hmm. Has there been one in particular you can remember where you're like, oh, that was really, really funny to see them, get something or enjoy something?
There, believe it was the Ghostbusters that was pretty. They're both pretty impressed with.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be one. That's definitely like it's just a gem that we don't talk enough about, the real Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a common idiot. He was on with me. Matt was on with me, and that was one of his favorite. He's a big Ghostbusters guy, and I was like, "Yeah, that show was just great." And that's where I mentioned the Men in Black as well. And I am with you. I'm very frustrated that it's like, I don't know what to do. Uh, I assume there's physical copies because stuff has been printed at some point, but it's got to be expensive. It's if it's that out of print and it's not available on any of the streaming services.
Yeah, for like Men in Black particular, I remember they released several volumes of it, but I believe those were just episodes they picked and choose from out. There's never like solid season 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
The way
How
that
many
we normally
seasons?
buy stuff. I
Right.
believe it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
3 or 4 seasons.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that was a good show. That was a really underrated show. And that's another reason why I think it's just so frustrating we don't get good Men in Black, because that show really, really grew a universe for them, right? Coming from a
Yeah,
comic book to live action, and then that, it's like you really did create a whole lot. And then you go back and revisit it with these subpar sequels that are just, they were just terrible. They were just not up to snuff, that's for sure. So what are some of the favorite memories that you have, like being young and the whole Saturday morning experience? Because for me, it was like I'm still kind of like in awe as I thought about it. Like I was allowed to like sit in front of that TV for hours.
yeah. Me and my brother most of the time it was just sit in front of the TV and enjoy the Saturday morning cartoons. I'll be home sometime this afternoon.
Mm, wow. Yeah.
So
Do you? I
it
was just
was
gonna
pretty
ask.
good at the time.
Do you fondly remember, like, it was cartoons before school, cartoons after school, live action stuff as well was mixed in, but and then Saturday morning was like an event though.
Yeah, a lot of the cartoons on Saturday were the event. During the week, you got some of the older run shows, which
Hmm.
was like at the time He-Man and Voltron, the original Voltron, not that vehicle stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
And then you get to the weekend, you got the big stuff. There on it was the later seasons of Batman, Superman, and I remember when Pinky and the Brain got their own show off of the Animaniacs. that was pretty big for me
All right.
because
Yeah, yeah. No,
I wasn't a big fan of the Animaniacs, but I loved Pinky and the Brain.
yeah, their shows were so much fun. Animaniacs, those songs that they would come up with were just, it was like genius. There was just genius in there. I just couldn't believe how good it was, how much fun it was.
Yeah, some of those were pretty good earworms.
How do you sort of like pick and choose? Do you pick and choose just a certain show, series of shows, that kind of thing? So you basically go for what, about an hour and a half, usually on Saturdays?
Yeah, I'll either show a movie or 4 episodes of a show.
Hmm.
Uh, Usually, I try to pick something I have a physical copy of, or something that I see on like Tubi that has caught my eye and I think is a little bit
Hmm.
underrepresented on YouTube. Something I think people
Interesting.
go back and like.
Right.
But
Right.
for example, I had pretty good success with Wing Commander Academy.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of people,
Yeah.
even
That
fans of the franchise, didn't realize they made a cartoon of it.
right. Right. So what are some of the others that are like some of your most watched or your biggest ones that kind of really kind of had some legs for people finding them?
I got some pretty good reactions from a lot of the Don Blue stuff. Land Before
Mhm.
Time, definitely, and Rockadoodle was actually bigger than
Rockadoodle.
I thought.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Rockadoodle would be an obscure one that most people don't know about. Yeah, the Don Bluth stuff was, I mean, for me, just finding it, it becomes such a big deal in the video game arena as well, right? So it's like it just kind of kept parlaying itself into his work from Land Before Time become a theatrical thing, but once he started doing like Dragon's Lair, it's like we knew who he was. So it wasn't uh just some random new animation company. It was like, oh yeah, but it's the guy who did this. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, okay, I know who that is. So uh yeah, that's Rockadoodle though. Rockadoodle is, I mean, wow, yeah, that is a pretty
Yeah,
bit of an obscure one, reaching deep for that one. That's a good one.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, good, good.
yeah. He had a good
Um,
set right there at the late '80s, early '90s.
yeah, he had a run, right? Had a run with a few things. All Dogs Go to Heaven was done during that time frame. I don't know if they had a
He, I
Saturday
believe
morning
that
cartoon
was,
or not.
yeah, they did have a cartoon for that, and actually Land Before Time as well. I don't remember if that was in the late '90s or early 2000s though.
Okay, okay,
But at that time, I don't think Don Bluth had anything to do with the franchise.
right. Good point. Yeah, good point. A lot of this stuff would be, he would have been getting a little long in the tooth at that point with some of that stuff. Um, But what are some of the other obscure stuff that you like going back? I mean, I just did conversations, and sometimes I'll find someone so about my age or a little older, and they will go really hardcore deep back, especially when it was like a lot less animation. It was a lot more of like children's programming, like the era of like Bozo the Clown type stuff, that era of children's programming. But you get into like Mighty Mouse and stuff that's really, really got a long history versus, you get into the 70s and the 80s and kind of like you end up in like this golden era, in my opinion, of kids shows where you end up in like the late 80s and the 90s with this boom of just so many shows that are just so great even today.
Yeah, uh, the Hanna Barbera stuff that definitely was a big to get all sorts of stuff because they were just churning out stuff like his factory production, and a lot of it was quality.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, occasional stuff that didn't hit as well as the rest, but it was just Yogi Bear, Scooby Doo, all of it was pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it just seemed like they ended up being able to sort of like, I think as an adult, do you catch like some of the similar stories? Like it's just been adapted to a different cartoon, but it's pretty much the exact same stuff, but it's still produced well within its little universe.
Yeah, it's sort of like any other genre. You get the normal type of stories that repeat themselves in pretty much every series, but the writers usually have a good enough handle on things to fit it into their universe as well as they can.
Yeah. So what are some of the other favorites? Some of the other stuff that you like, you could hang your hat on, and I put you on an island, and you're like, just if you gave me a box set of this one and this one and this one, I'm going to be pretty good.
Definitely have to go with Scooby Doo.
Mm,
The
that's good.
most of
Yeah.
the Scooby Doo growing up, I didn't have a lot of VHSs
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, but I had Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I wore that thing out.
Yeah, I had the little one of the earlier, I don't know, probably not earlier. I shouldn't say that, but one of the DVD sets that came in a mystery machine. It's like a little cardboard looking mystery machine, and the DVD was like, it's like a box set down inside of it, and I have that, and it's like raised my kids with that, been raising my grandkids on that. It's like, yeah, OG Scooby Doo, man. It's there's something special about it.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
before the Scrappy era.
Oh yeah. I understand. So, what else? What else? You kind of name dropped He-Man a little bit, but what are some of the other ones that you really enjoyed?
The He-Man, the New Adventures of He-Man. I think people, it was a downgrade from the original, but still pretty good show. That was in the late night or early '90s, I believe. A lot of
Okay.
people overlook that one. Also, big fan of mine, the Star Trek the animated series.
Oh wow, yeah,
Not,
that definitely not talked about.
yeah. Oh, there's so
Where
many.
where is that available? Is that available on Paramount or something?
I would think so, but I have the hard case cover that they came out with the original TOS series. They also came out with
Mm-hmm.
the TAS in the same style of box, so I got all those together.
I'm sorry, I'm looking it up. Yeah, I guess it is on Paramount. I should give that a go. That'd be fun to give that a go. Do a little
Yeah,
rewatch of some animated Trek. Because I'm not a Trek guy, so it'd be kind of people for some reason harass me about my normie point of view on things. I don't quite understand that, Germ, but I get that. Like, oh, you should watch Last of Us. I'm like, I don't play the game or anything like that. No, that's exactly why you should watch it. I'm like, okay,
it helps.
sure.
It definitely helps not to have played the game.
Oh well, yeah, definitely. I thought I felt like I was giving a more objective opinion of why the story and what the story problems were, what the issues with the show were, beyond just I'm an angry, bitter gamer or something. Like that was kind of what my angle was going to be if I was going to do it. It's like, well, you have to understand this is how I'm going to come at it. So you guys are going to have to be in chat, always throwing in your comments like, well, this is in the game. This is why this happened. This is in the game. This is why that happened. So I do appreciate that. So someone who's not a huge Trek fan might be interesting to watch that animated show to get more of a high level look at it. But I definitely have enjoyed rewatching. I did a quick little video. I watched the first, it was a 3 episode arc of the original 84 Transformers.
Yeah,
And what struck me the
those are
most was how
definitely a
great
good
the
series.
animation was. Right? The
Yeah,
animation was so detailed, right?
yeah, uh, pretty good for something they thought was just gonna be like a short TV movie for the
Mm,
toy line.
mm.
That was what was great about a lot of that during the era. Transformers, He-Man. The show was actually just the background thought to how can we sell these toys,
Hmm.
and I think that commercial approach really helped them a lot.
Are you shocked that I mean, I guess you're probably not. You're like me. I'm shocked at how bad the marketing has become. Because like you said, they would have a show that was designed to sell toys, or they would have a show that's successful. They'd figure out how to market it towards kids, towards other stuff, whether it be lunch boxes and toys and other materials. It seems like there's so many things that are done, and there's just not really good widespread merchandising and things like that. And that's why they're leaning so many onto adult collectors, because I don't think stuff's marketed towards kids like it used to be.
No, it's and what they do market is the lower quality stuff. Sometimes, like
Mm.
the I've sort of checked out on major releases around the time of the Adventures of Gumball and Steven Universe because the animation style looks incredibly lazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time actually watching it.
Okay. All right. So when people go over to the site and you click the live button, they can see the different rewatches that you're doing regularly. They're there every week. You can kind of see those and kind of have an idea of one to choose from. It's like pretty regular. There's a few. Oh, I see. There we go. Wing Commander Academy was your most recent one. Rockadoodle, the Yogi Easter Bear, G.I. Joe, Real Good Ghostbusters. So you're really kind of pinging around and hitting some different classics over different time. Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to go back and add some more keywords to some of these older ones so we know which ones are which. Yeah. Yeah, there's some great stuff in here. It's fun to definitely go and have that sort of like live reaction process with it. What's one or two that you haven't done yet? You just haven't gotten to it or haven't found it besides the Men in Black that we talked about?
I've been looking for Extreme Ghostbusters. It's
Okay.
another one
Yeah.
that's sort of difficult to find for a good physical copy. And unless it's buried somewhere on the high seas, I haven't been able to find a good digital copy of it.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like a great one to be able to get into. I was talking to Matt, and that was one of his. He's, I really, sure, the real Ghostbusters kind of got me there, but Extreme Ghostbusters, I had a lot of fun with. I really enjoyed, and I'm like, oh, all right, well, that's true. I remember
Yeah.
I'm a little older, so for me, it was more like um, with the kids, and they were kind of like sort of into it, but not like majorly into it. If that's a fair assessment, I don't know. Yeah, so
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That
yeah,
Four
I
Kids
don't know.
era, the broadcasting they did was really underrated. They had stuff like Mummies Alive, the Extreme Ghostbusters, Extreme Dinosaurs. I believe they also did the Dinosaurs and Cadillacs, or I may be remembering that wrong.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But their big thing was the Yu-Gi-Oh series. It's what got them on the map in the late '90s.
Well, that's true. That'd be cool. That'd be very cool. So, all right. All right. What is some of the ones where you're just kind of like let me rephrase that and go to everything that was remotely successful seemed like it would get an animated try. I stumbled across
Yeah,
accidentally, like the one season of Karate Kid, the one season of it was like a Happy Days spinoff was just the Fonz and Friends. It was like everything they would probably throw against the wall, even if it was only for just a few episodes. Are name some of those that you've seen, kind of like where you're still to this day, you're kind of like, oh, geez, what were they thinking?
the best example I can think of that would be the Chuck Norris.
Oh, the Chuck
Uh,
Norris one.
yeah, I believe that was only 5 episodes.
I'm looking it up in another window because I am not even
Uh,
aware.
Karate Commandos.
Karate Commandos. Oh, that is funny. Oh, that animation does not look good either.
That had to be promoting something, but
Here, I'll share it in the windows for you folks so you can get a good feel for what I'm seeing because I was just like, what on earth? Yeah. There's no real detail in the animation. Yeah. Hanna-Barbera collection, the complete series. There's only a couple.
yeah.
Oh, look at this one. Oh, this looks terrible.
The worst part of
Yeah.
that show would have to be the kid Too Much. That was his name, and that what his catchphrase was.
This says it's on Tubi.
Yeah,
Oh man. Maybe I'll have to go there and throw that down as it's one of those things too where I'm trying to figure out, do I want to subject myself to some of them that are that bad? You're absolutely right. 5 episodes. The series follows the framing device of Mr. T. Interesting. Yeah, it just did not go well. And it published alongside a comic book series. Exactly what we were saying. To quote, and you can scroll down, to coincide with the airing of the show, Kenner Products made a set of action figures. Oh, that's great. Exactly what we were saying. Wow, that's funny. So, that's great. I was trying to figure out ways to navigate through like how many hundreds of shows, for lack of a better. I mean, I don't even know how to frame like the multitude of things that would land. If you think about every Saturday morning, that's roughly 50 a year for how many years, that many episodes, that many time slots by 3 to 5 channels. That is a mass industry of content that was being created. Is it sort of overwhelming to you when you think about just how much stuff is actually out there?
It was at one point. I just let it all just blend together now.
Okay.
I'll surf around looking for a show. This looks okay. I think I'll feature this one.
Do you have a list of some that are coming up that you're going to do?
Yeah, I got a few planned out for the next couple weeks.
Cool. Cool. All right. All right. That's great. That's great. So, again, folks, everything is there in the description. You can go check up with what Germ's got going on, what's there. He did mention his love of sci-fi, so stuff there as well. There's some stuff that dates back. Recently there's some stuff, but more. He did Quantum Leap. Obviously, he did some stuff that was on a thing called Lex, as well as Orville. I know there was some older stuff in here. Farscape. That's what I saw. Farscape. So yeah, dude, it's fun. Have you been surprised as like the YouTubing thing? I don't know if you're interacting much with a ton of creators or not, but like how welcoming all of this kind of is.
Uh, yeah, it's the like for example, I got over 300 subs at this point. I never thought I would surpass the 100 mark, and uh, pretty regularly interact with several people like Gorilla and Bird of Prey, LDG.
Mm-hmm.
Made some pretty good friends, pretty good contacts around YouTube. Those been a lot better than I thought.
Well, and I think that's it. You're hitting a market like you said earlier, where it's just like a lot of people are not really talking about this, but everyone's reaction when you do talk about it, mine is how it's always positive. It's pretty rare people are like thinking about it in a negative light. They only remember some of the positive things that they enjoy, right?
Yeah, as they say, nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. So, all right. Well, let's shift gears to some that you feel like. Is it weird that they have tried to modernize them in such weird ways? I mean, I get, like you were saying, you're talking about, they try to take a stab at He-Man, they took a stab, even Extreme Ghostbusters, those kinds of things. But then when you go to like stuff within the last 5 years, and I know you get, we have the woke culture part, but you have these like now we're doing like major race, gender. We're infusing almost like sexuality type stuff in there. We saw this with like this crazy adult version of Velma. Speak a little bit about that this crazy movement, if you will, to adapt all of this stuff in this sort of like I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. Like unorthodox. Let's go with something nice and safe, like unorthodox.
It's a very nice way to put it.
I don't know what to call it,
Uh,
bro. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best to be nice.
yeah, just put it simply, I think they're out of ideas and too afraid of risk. The
Hmm.
production values on some of the stuff get millions and millions of dollars, and instead of risking on some brand new IP, they'll go back and cannibalize something like the Scooby Doo franchise they did with Velma.
Yeah. There wasn't even like a little bit. It was like a self insert with like race swapped characters, and it's just like sexuality is there. It's made for adults with adult humor. It's like what are you like? Something's wrong. It's like there's a mental illness with people who want to look at cartoons these ways. I mean, I'm not trying to be highbrow. I'm like, it's a 1970s cartoon. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why would you want to do that? Um, for you, do you still see them as like these nice, pure, safe things? Even though we find episodes every now and again, we're kind of like, whoa. That episode's a little out there.
For the most part, yeah. But as I said, I don't. The last say 15 years or so, there's pretty much nothing that I watch
Hmm.
from that time
Okay.
period.
All right.
I'm
All right.
gonna have to break that with the Gremlin series coming up. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah,
a
we'll see.
franchise I really like, and I'm gonna
Gonna
subject myself. Those trailers are not looking promising.
He's gonna go there. He's gonna do it. Jumping into the water. See, my motto is I will say I will watch it so you don't have to. So if I'm in, I'll go in. I'll commit. I don't always commit, but I will. I did not commit to Velma. I said I wouldn't want. I wanted to watch it for myself, and because I didn't want to read it, I didn't want to listen to everyone else's response until I watched the one episode, and then I was like, This is absurd. This is insane." I did not watch anything else, but yeah, if I decide to commit, I'll commit. But I'm like you. I don't think I've really spun my wheels on anything modern. I think I did the same thing on the He-Man, the Netflix one. Like I watched a couple episodes and was like, "What on earth is wrong with these people? Like He-Man's not on the show. Like what is happening?"
Yeah,
Um,
I wasn't gonna trust them after they butchered Shira.
it's funny you bring up She-Ra too, because I just showed my older granddaughter She-Ra because obviously the unicorn things, right? And I didn't really pay much attention to, some of the modern stuff. And I was Googling and I just saw what they had done. I just read descriptions and responses to what people had said about it. And I just like shook my head. Same thing with like the Velma thing. I'm like, what is wrong with you that you needed to do that? Like it's a you problem, not a me problem. Like that's not the
Yeah,
same product. Like, why did you change it? Is there what is the future of the nostalgia, the Saturday morning cartoon stuff? Like we said, there's actually a few of them that are kind of hard to find, physical copies and streaming. This how does that look? What do you think? Do you think that that's going to be a harder and harder thing, or do you think that someone will catch on and figure out how to monetize it, so to speak?
I'm hoping so. With HBO Max relaunching pretty soon, I'm really hoping they at least put the Hanna Barbera library onto the streaming service.
Mm,
That would be a huge step for them, especially since they want to
sure.
focus on kids and family programming. Other
Yeah,
than that, I
I have
don't
no
see
idea
it.
why they don't have tiers for that. Just make tiers. Just put tiers in. Put it all out there. Yeah, even if you rotate some stuff in and out from time to time to keep people coming and going back and forth. But yeah. Hmm. Is there a boomerang service or anything like that, like an esoteric service where they still show shows? Like, I don't have cable. I haven't had cable in so long. I don't even know Boomerang's still on.
I believe they do have a streaming service. I haven't checked on it in quite a while. Last time I did anything with that, it was very unreliable.
Hmm.
But as it is quite a while ago before HBO Max came out. So I don't know if they've kept up on that or not.
Interesting. What is your thoughts on my theory is that because of the way it was cable TV, Nick, and then Boomerang, and then the internet sort of kind of changed everything. Was that the death of the Saturday morning cartoon experience?
Yeah, most likely. There's just far too many options out there. Everything got diluted down. Each
Hmm.
channel would have maybe one or two good shows, and then the other hour or two they're trying to push on you was just not worth it.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just sort of like in shock that there's so many people who've responded and like they have no idea this was kind of a thing. I play all these commercials, which I will play at the end of this. Throw together some random commercials and stuff like that. I'm like, it was a thing. Like we all were watching Saturday morning cartoons. Like it was just a thing. And then you get to the middle of the day, and what was your Saturday afternoon like? Because I tell you, like I was telling somebody like the midday was your point. You have lunch or whatever. And it's like cartoons are wrapping up, and it's like, well, during baseball season, there'd be Saturday afternoon baseball, but other sports wouldn't come on right away. Usually they would be like later in the afternoon. Then there'd be like the creature feature type shows, like sci-fi and horror shows. Like, yeah, that's, they had a horror host, that kind of thing. So that would sometimes be a thing. But what was the rest of your Saturday kind of like in the grand scheme of all this?
It's good that you mentioned the baseball, because out west here, Saturday baseball on Fox would preempt the last hour of Saturday morning cartoons. It
Oh
was
my gosh.
so it's frustrating to no end.
Yeah, it's
And
funny you
usually
say
that's
that
when they had
because
the good one on. They usually preempting an episode of X-Men or something like that.
oh no. Oh yeah, that would be terrible. Yeah, the Pacellis were on and we were talking about how they would because they were in Chicago, and a lot of stuff that would be on WGN would preempt. So for instance, I think they were talking about Deep Space Nine. Anyway, it was something like that, and it was like it would always preempt the show. So hence the reason they're not actually a big fan of the show, or they'd never really watched it, because it was always one of the ones that got preempted. Wow, I didn't know that. Could you imagine in hindsight that you were bumping X-Men animated series? That's
Yeah.
so crazy to me.
I
This
can
is one of the
understand for the
goats.
contracts, looking back at the contracts they had with Major League Baseball at the time, but
Right.
to like being 11 or 12 years old, that's what are you doing to me?
Do you have a favorite of X-Men animated versus Batman animated?
I definitely go with Batman between the two.
Mm,
It
okay.
is a lot more thought out, and it seemed more intelligent to me. And I was
Yeah.
always more DC over Marvel.
Okay. Okay. Very good. I'm not trying to say there's a right answer. Two different strategies, two different approaches, and results I think are both great, but they kind of both have pros and cons that fit the audiences they were going for. I think the X-Men was all about like trying to sell action figures and comic books and merch, and they were literally lifting stories out. Whereas Batman animated series is almost like an alternate universe, like he's in his own little universe where the villains
Yeah.
are different. Yeah, so it's awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, I think we're going to wrap there and hit you up with some commercials here. Make sure you connect to Germ. Go over there and check out. There's just so many great streams that he's done, rewatching Saturday morning cartoons, obviously, as well as talking about science fiction shows, different things that he has a passion and love for. There's all sorts of content here. And listen, it's criminally undersubbed at a little over 300. This is crazy. You guys, we need to get on the stick here and check out some fun stuff, because this is a great way to break up the negative stuff. Like, you want to break. And I wait for the day where people like him can, get more will get more permission. Maybe it'll have to be on a Rumble. Maybe it'll have to be on some other service where they will allow us to put on standalone episodes and things like that. I some of this stuff's not coming back, so I don't know why it doesn't just get put in the public domain or something like that. Or have you ever tried to play around with the stuff that's in public domain, like some of the Looney Tune stuff? Do they let you put some of that stuff out there without any issues?
I've never tried particularly with Looney Tunes. I know a couple of other YouTubers that do classic cartoons and the Looney Tunes. Mr. Lundell and Brandon's Looney Tunes fan both post a bunch of stuff for the more real classic stuff.
Sure. All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate your time doing this, hanging out. Always love talking about Saturday morning cartoons. For all of you guys out there, thank you so much for hanging out with me on this Saturday. Hope you've enjoyed our bonus Saturday talking about cartoons and animation with you. Check out this guy. Thank you so much for watching. Here's some commercials. Take care. I am Pops.
This is only a test. And this is a commercial.
Take a look and see what's shaking at Dairy Queen. It's the Dairy Queen Treat Meal. You can choose a mouth-watering single burger. Also includes crispy small fries, a thirst-quenching soft drink, and your choice of a soft-serve treat. That's not all. The stars from the new hit movie Rock-a-Doodle, Chanticleer, Edmund, Patoo, Peepers, Duke, and Snipes. You'll find one in every Dairy Queen Treat Meal at participating stores. You can collect all 6 at Dairy Queen.
Here's Milky, the marvelous milking cow. It's fun to milk her, gonna do it right now. She drinks the water when we pump her tail. She's raising her head, it's milking time now. Her pretend milk is a feeling the pail.
She drinks water and gives pretend milk.
Milky, the marvelous milking cow. Milky, the marvelous milking cow with pretend milk tablets. She's from Kenner.
There's a new cereal in the neighborhood with O's and ghosts.
Tastes real good. Ghostbusters.
Marshmallow ghosts, fruit-flavored O's. Ghostbusters taste great with milk and juice and toast. A nutritious breakfast with the ghosts.
Ghostbusters.
Fruit-flavored O's.
Ghostbusters.
Marshmallow ghosts.
Ghostbusters.
Hey, what are you gonna crunch?
Ghostbusters.
And now, back to our show.
What do we have here?
It's Castle Grayskull. And it's mine. Not so fast, Beastman. He-Man.
You can pit He-Man against Beastman, playing for the power of Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
Beastman's escaping.
What's wrong, Dad? Dad, you saved the castle.
Castle Grayskull from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Beastman, each sold separately, from Mattel.
Did somebody step in something?
With battle action sounds, just like in the movie, Wolverine and Sabretooth fight claw to claw. It's Cyclops to the rescue with the X-Jet. Storm, green atmospheric disturbance. Cyclops fires electronic light-up optic blast pistol. Engage optic blast.
Yeah.
Release claw attack. The X-Jet grabs Sabretooth's attention.
Gotcha.
Mutant power within. The X-Men X-Jet. Figures and Liberty playset sold separately. Batteries not included.